Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our ongoing series that looks beyond the headlines to uncover what is really happening in Rwanda. I am your host, Denise Zaneza, and it is always an honor to guide you through these vital conversations. Today, we dive deep into the harsh realities of life under Paul Kagame's regime, a dictatorship often portrayed internationally as a democratic success story, thanks to a powerful and costly PR machine. But behind the polished image lies a very different truth, one marked by systematic human rights violations, political oppression, and a complete shutdown of freedoms we too often take for granted. In Rwanda today, freedom of speech, freedom of association, and freedom of expression barely exist. Voices of dissent are silenced with imprisonment, intimidation, and too often even targeted killings. Among the many courageous Rwandans who have dared to speak out, opposition leaders have faced the worst. One of the most well-known is Victor Ingabire U.Victoire. After years in exile, she returned to Rwanda in 2010 to run for president, peacefully calling for democracy, truth, and reconciliation for all Rwandans. For that act of courage, she was arrested and spent 8 years in prison on politically motivated charges. The African Court on Human and People's Rights ruled her trial unfair and called for her release, yet she remained behind bars until 2018. Now, just as her probation was ending and she was set to regain her full rights, Victor Ingabire has been arrested again on new trumped-up charges. Her story is emblematic of Kagame's zero-tolerance approach to opposition. Today, we are joined by someone who knows this struggle, not just politically, but personally. Her son, Remy Amahiwa, is tirelessly advocating for his mother's freedom and speaking out against the injustices she and so many others face in Rwanda. He joins us to share her story, their family pain, and his call to the world to stand up for justice and human rights in Rwanda. Remy, welcome and thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Denise, for this opportunity and giving me a platform to really cry out to the world to help my mother.
The honor is all mine, Remy. First of all, how are you holding up personally? And have you been able to speak with your mother at all since her arrest?
I have not been able to speak with my mother directly since her arrest on the 19th of June. It's
Mm-hmm.
been now more than 70 days. And I think the way that I'm holding up is that from that moment that day, that night she was taken, something triggered in me, something and what you could call a righteous anger, and I've
Mm-hmm.
just been coping by fighting and advocating for her, like you said, tirelessly, because I cannot be a bystander. It is too painful to see what is happening with her, but by advocating, fighting, I gain small victories and feel that I can play a part in, my mother's struggle.
Yes, that is very courageous of you, Remy, and also other members of your family who are doing the same. For our audience, just to highlight this, since Victor Ingabire's arrest in June, the government of Rwanda hasn't allowed her to get in contact with any member of her family, which is one of the violations of her basic rights. Remy, can you tell us what happened on the day she was taken, and how did your family and you learn about her arrest?
Well, we have a very active family WhatsApp group with
Mm-hmm.
both my parents, my younger brother, and my older sister, where we all share our lives all the time. It helps us to stay close with each other. And even though we're spread out, I myself live in Sweden. My sister is currently in South America. My little brother and my father, they're in the Netherlands, holding down the home front, as we say. And my mother, yeah, as we all know, is in Rwanda.
Mhm.
But through this family WhatsApp, we've been very active, sharing each other's lives. And my mother said that day that she would have a meeting at the Rwanda Investigation Bureau. There's a meeting, we've been called to before, so we didn't expect much of it.
Mhm.
But this time, after the meeting, the police or the authorities, they followed her back home. In her home, they started to ransack all her stuff. I got sent videos afterwards of people who were in the room, and they really pulled off everything: her mattress, her books, her everything, and the whole room was a mess. And then they left, and with my mother. And I remember my mother was typing to us a little bit during that situation, like, okay, the police is now at our house. They're going through the stuff, and that was it. And afterwards, we heard only from her associates who were left behind.
That is, that must have been very scary for you as her family members to realize that she was not typing anymore, not knowing what was really going on. And thankfully, there were people at her place who were able to inform you guys. But this is really tragic to see how the government of Rwanda operates when they want to silence dissenting voices. Um, just to go back on the state of mind that you are all in right now, especially your mother. Have you been able to find out how she's doing? What is her current state of mind? Is she still holding on strong despite everything? Because we know your mother, Victor Ingabire, is a very strong, courageous woman who has been fighting all these years for democracy in Rwanda. So how is she doing right now, Remy?
It was just last week that I saw pictures of her arriving at the court in Rwanda, and I'm very glad for the courageous people in Rwanda who go and be there every time my mother has court and wait till she arrives. And they send me those pictures, and maybe you've seen them yourself, but she just walks there with a smile on her face, both her thumbs up, just
Mm,
showing that she is all right. And it really echoes of her last words that she sent in the family chat is like, everything will be all right. God is almighty. He is all powerful. And that is what my mother stands on. She's a strong believer. She always has been in my life. That's how I remembered her. And she would always say that my life is in God's hand. Whatever happens is yeah, ordained by God, and she rests secure in that. And I think it gives her the strength to keep
mhm,
smiling in situations where other people will crumble. So many years she've already been in isolated detention, and my mother is a social being. She's a very social person, so I can understand what a torment that is. And now to face that again, and she can come to court with a smile on her face.
mhm.
eh, yeah, I'm so yeah proud of her, and yeah, it gives me strength myself to see that she can smile. Then we will keep smiling as well.
It shows again how special of a person she is, how courageous she is, and this also gives hope and strength to others who are still fighting the regime, who are still out advocating for peace, for peaceful change, and for democracy in Rwanda. That don't give up no matter what. Bad things might happen, but at the end of the day, we are in this fight for a greater good for the Rwandan people. So your mother is really an example for all of us to follow, to not give up, to not be broken despite anything that might be thrown against us. Remy, let's go back a little bit. Not so long ago, you went back to Rwanda to visit your mother. What was your motive back then, and was it the first time? And how was your stay over there for those who were not able to follow your journey back to Rwanda?
So it was 15 years then that I had not seen my mother. I'm 33 years old now, so it was almost half my life that I had not seen her. And just my son was born a few months before, Zacharias. He was 4 months at the time we decided to go to Rwanda. And that was one big reason for my mother to see her two of her grandchildren. And my mother wanted to, we were talking with my mother, and she said, well, guys, I missed your wedding and I could not be there at the birth of the grandchildren. I would love to baptize the children here in Rwanda, actually the same church that I was also baptized at. So my wife organized the trip,
Hmm.
and my wife said, you know what? We should actually also uh, renew our vows again in Rwanda, since your mother was not there. And while we're in Rwanda, it will be our 3-year anniversary. So let's do it all together, baptizing of our children, and also have your mother there at present at our wedding. And of course, just long lost quality time that I needed with her. So that was our motivation. And
Yeah.
we went there February, and I had a little fear, I would say, in the back of my mind,
Hmm.
because, not seeing her for 15 years, even though after her release in 2018, we started to have contact through social media and the phone, but not seeing her, holding her for so long. I had dreams, for example, where I would meet my mom again. That somehow the authorities uh, got her out of prison when she was still there, and that we got to see her. But then that she lost the ability to speak with us, and that we were just could not communicate anymore, and it was like kind of like a nightmare.
Hmm.
And there was those fears were in the back of my mind that she might have changed a lot, or I have changed a lot. And I would say that there was sometimes a little bit hesitance of me to make that jump to go to Rwanda. But my wife said, no, we're just gonna go. And we're gonna do this amazing uh trip.
Hmm.
So when I got there, it was, all those fears that I had, they just melted away. Because when I saw my mother, it's just, I guess it is a deep human instinct, a child's instinct when they see their parent. To just be filled with love and and a desire to hug her and to be close to her. And yeah, I just get emotional now thinking about it again. But yeah, my mother said also about me, said, Remy, you haven't changed at all. You're exactly the same as those 15
Oh.
years. And for me, it was the same at that time. Couldn't change us or our relationship.
Ooh, this is a very emotional part for you to talk about, and I am sure that everyone who's listening can sympathize with you, Remy, and your family. If there's one thing I can say to you is that a mother's love never dies. It can only grow with time, no matter what happens. And with what you have just shared with us, you feel that your mother's love for you, for children, has kept on growing and became stronger despite the injustice your family has been facing since 2010. As a mother, I cannot even begin to imagine how difficult it must be for a mom not being able to see her children grow up, to get robbed of that fundamental right as a mother. It's just terrible. And I remember a few years back, we celebrated on this channel International Women's Day, and your mother was one of the participants, and she told us how she was not allowed to be at your sister's wedding. Um, it was simply heartbreaking. I believe we all cried, everyone who was participating, because we could imagine her pain. And your mother made a sacrifice for Rwandans that very few people are able to do. Unfortunately, people tend to forget about the other side, and the other side is you as children and also your father, of course. And it's very, um, this is really beautiful. At the same time, heartbreaking, of course, to hear from you guys and to hear how you have been able to live this experience. So, Remy, how were you able to cope with the absence of your mother? How did you manage growing up without your mother around you?
Yeah, when my mother left us, I was 17 at the time
Hmm.
and not really understanding how big uh, and how many consequences her actions would have.
Hmm.
And I saw my mother doing her politics while I grew up in the Netherlands. She would travel for it sometimes, but always come back. And this time it was to be a big trip because a lot of uh, Rundis in the diaspora were very excited about it. They came to visit our house on the day of her departure. There was a TV crew there from the Dutch television, and I guess then I started to see like, oh, this is bigger than any of us thought, are we the children. Our mother always used to tell us, I'm gonna go to Rwanda. Um, they might arrest me, or worse things might happen. But know that God is with you, and that I love you, and that I pray for you every day. And it wasn't really something we really thought would happen, but
Hmm.
as he said, eventually he got arrested, and I think that one way of coping it goes 15 years. We have gone through a lot of stages and to learn how to deal with it. But in the beginning, I was really powerlessness once he got arrested. I We were far away in the Netherlands. We were still young. My dad, he gave his all campaigning for her, and we saw how much it did to him, how much stress it gave him, and it even cost him his health. Eventually, he's now sick. And for a long time, we as children were like almost detaching ourselves from the absurdity of the what was happening to our parents. And my sister and I sometimes we joke about it. She could write, for example, an a post, an advocating post for my mother, but she would just write Victoire Ingabire U. I would just totally forget to call it her mom. It was like so much detachment we had, uh, you know, had to do psychologically, kind of to like
Hmm.
even deal with the situation. And just like my mother, I would say that during those years, I threw myself also on God. I My sister and I became believers. We were before, even though we were grown up in a religious household, I would say we were not active seeking it ourselves. But after my mother left, I think we all found comfort in the Word of God
Hmm.
and in each other. And this time, I would say, since I'm older now, when it happened again, I knew that I did not want to be a a spectator anymore as I was before. I might have helped to cope like that during my younger years when I felt very powerless, but now I feel that I can do something. I can speak up and actually show the world that my mother is a very ordinary human being. No, she is a very funny lady, and um, we can laugh a lot with her. She cries as well. She, can get also angry. She is a human being just like us. And sometimes I think, like we went through this phase of this detachment that we saw her just as an icon, this political activist figure who does something extraordinary that we forget. Like, no, that is our mother right there. We've
Yes,
seen her in her ups and downs through everything. She's been in our ups and downs. That is our mother. She's, she's suffering hard and she's willing to pay that price. And the world must understand that, those activists, those people that we admire, they are ordinary human beings like us. And
exactly.
I guess by coping, I'll say now we cope through, yeah, advocating and longing and hoping and putting all our strength in believing that she will overcome and be victorious, as her name is, Victoire.
Her name is Victoire indeed, and we all hope that she will come victorious out of this injustice and oppression from the Rwandan government. And I'm really sorry to hear about the toll all this has taken on your father. And as a result, he became very ill up until this day. But also glad to hear that you were able to find comfort in each other and in God. And it's truly commendable to see how far you have come, all of you, and the great work you're all doing in advocating to have your mom released and free again. You just also mentioned that when your mother left, you were still very young and you could not comprehend the seriousness of the situation. And this brings me to your children now. How do you explain this situation to them and also, of course, to other members of your family?
Yeah, it is not easy to make sense of it because it is such a surreal situation that yeah, my family's in. Uh, but children, they are smart, I would say. Like I was 17, but my I saw it with my little brother. He was 8 years at the time,
Hmm.
and although we kind of, try to uh, not always give him all the details. I remember an event that one time that he borrowed a phone of mine, one of his first phone. He was allowed to get an old one of mine, and I needed a phone back for something. And I opened up a message, just a message that he wrote there to himself. And he was just a little boy, around 10 years old by then. And he was just writing kind of like a diary, prayers asking God to protect his mother there in Rwanda. So
Wow.
I that gave me a lesson that yes, even though children are young, they know, they know that it's you know, you don't always have to protect them from all the details. They will figure it out themselves. So
Yes,
with
they
my
know.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So with my own children, I decided to, I was just gonna be very open. I have one older daughter. She is 10 years old and she lives in the USA with her mother and grandparents.
Mhm.
And I remember her when she started to ask about grandma, like, "Hey, Dad, why is grandma actually in Rwanda, and why can she not visit?" And I had to explain to her. I said, "Well, she is in prison, and it's not because she's done anything wrong. It is because the president of Rwanda does not like her because she also wanted to run for president." And he does not take any criticism, as simply I could say. And because of that, uh, she was put in prison, which is very unfair, said my daughter, which I agree with her. And with my other children, they are two. One, my other daughter is always she's 2 years old, and Zacharias, he is just now 9 months. Yeah, Zoe, she knows grandma. She's been there. She was very conscious when we were there in Rwanda, and my grandma, my mother, really took her, and so that is, my wife and I could uh, have more time alone and sleep also together. And then with only Zacharias, the youngest one, in our room, and then Zoe, the older one, she would sleep with my mother. And she really got close to my to her grandma, to my mom
Oh,
in those
that's
days.
beautiful. Yeah.
So when we got back home, we started to video chat a lot because now she really knew who grandma was. And now she asks like, "Oh, let's call grandma, grandma." Everything that is connected to
Oh,
Rwanda, she says grandma. Whenever we look at some pictures of Rwanda or something else about Rwanda, her first thing, if we eat mango, because we ate so much mango over there, she loved it. She says grandma, grandma. And
oh.
yeah, I tell her, no, we cannot talk to grandma now. And I guess the older she'll get, the more she will hear. But I hope the time will come that she do will be able to talk to her grandma again and to see her and to be with her again.
Oh,
But
that's good.
but it's a very surreal thing to explain to people and also to my wife and her family. My father-in-law, he was with on the trip to Rwanda. So he got to see my mother, but also Rwanda, the country, uh, by firsthand and how it is. And he liked the country. He thought it was odd that there was always surveillance around, following us wherever we went. And my mother had to explain that that is, her the reality of her life there. That there's always surveillance wherever we went. There was always a car or a motorbike or whatsoever following us our every move. So that's that is not normal. And I had to kind of explain to him that that is the reality of yeah the, the political dissident in Rwanda.
You recently appealed to President Donald Trump to intervene in the matter. Why do you think international pressure matters? And what specifically are you asking the US and other democratic nations to do?
Yes, we as a family we appealed to Trump. We wrote a letter to him and his senior advisor on Africa, Mr. Bolis, and we also reached out to the media. And The Hill is a Washington D.C. based media outlet. They published an op-ed for me with in kind of an open letter and an appeal to Trump. And
Mhm.
I believe, especially now, with the U.S. Trying to uh, broker peace between Rwanda and Congo. I believe that the US can actually play a very significant role there in the Great Lakes region because the Rwanda problem, it spills over in the whole area.
That's true. Mhm.
And I believe that yeah, the internet pressure work. Kagame, the dictator of Rwanda, he denounced or he says that he did not release my mother the first time in 2018 because of international pressure. But I do believe that something happened on the background, that something um, shifted in the international view that countries had of Rwanda. They saw it much more as a repressive state than just this progressive Singapore of Africa, which he is pushing for. So I definitely believe that that was because of international pressure that my mother got released before, and I believe and hope that it can happen again. We've seen it in the case of the hero from Hotel Rwanda,
Yes,
and his daughters were advocating for him and for his release, and the US stepped in and put Rwanda on a hostage-taking nation list, and he got freed. He got to go back home to his family, and I believe that something similar can happen for my mother. Rwanda is very concerned about the international image. I believe it is even one of the uh, things that they're now accusing my mother of in the trial, that she's giving Rwanda a bad image internationally. But I really think that they're doing that all by themselves by repressing her and the 9 other individuals in her case who have just read a book. There's no crime at all. Maybe if you're in North Korea, but if Rwanda wants to turn into North Korea, they are, on the right path.
they are already on that path of
Yeah.
North Korea, unfortunately. And you just said it yourself. International pressure works. It did work with Paul Rusesabagina. And I also believe, just like you, that when your mother was released, there was also international pressure behind the first time. And that's why we need to keep on advocating and speaking out on what is going on in Rwanda, not only on behalf of your mother. There are also many other political prisoners in Rwanda. What can those listening right now, ordinary citizens, activists, policymakers, do to help your mother?
What they can do is kind of what they're already doing now, like listening, for example, to podcasts from you, because I believe that for a very long time there was just one narrative going out about the history of Rwanda, and there was the one approved by Paul Kagame, and every other narrative was false, or was genocidal, motivated, or whatsoever, which excuse they use. But I believe that people need to re-educate themselves first about the history of Rwanda and uh, and the current political situation. And I
Mhm.
think that channels like yours, who actually translate the issue of Rwanda to English, helps it to land better in a bigger audience. And besides educating themselves, I think they could spread also what they've learned, if they what is happening there in Rwanda. I think that the regime got away for a very long time just because there was no outcry, let's say like that. At least outcry from the Rwandese, but not from let's say the international community. And the world has become such a small place, and we're so interconnected all together,
That's true.
especially, so I really believe that, we ordinary citizens, activists, we all can play a role. We can actually change government policy in our own countries, who a lot of them give aid to Rwanda, that we
Hmm.
say like, of sure, give aid because Rwanda is still a poor country. There's a lot of poverty there that is not being spoken about. I've seen it with my own eyes when I was traveling outside of Kigali, but also some areas in Kigali where probably most tourists don't go, where the nice paved roads stop, but the gravel roads and bumpy ride starts. So aid must be still be given, but I think they should have some strings attached to it, like simple things like respecting human rights, and
Yes.
open up your political space, so that it's not one person's word that rules and reigns and dictates for now almost more than 30 years. There are other smart people in Rwanda. There's a lot of other people who can do things as well. But if those people don't get a chance, we are just, as Rwandans, working against ourselves. So I would say, yes, please write to your local MPs, members of parliaments, and advocate for Rwanda. Remember that my mother is just a normal, ordinary citizen, just like us, but we too can pick up the fight and bring change.
Beautifully said. And on that note, I believe we will close our conversation. Like you just said, people, please educate yourselves, spread the word, and advocate yourself for change, and try to make impact with policymakers wherever you are, especially in countries giving aid to the Rwandan regime under Paul Kagame. Um, Thank you so much, Remy, for being here today. It was a wonderful discussion. It was a very emotional conversation.
Yes.
Um, thank you for taking the time. And um, well, I hope very soon we get to see your mother as a free woman, as she should be. Because she has done nothing wrong. She has done nothing wrong. She's an innocent woman. She's an political activists fighting for change, fighting for democracy in Rwanda. And I believe all Rwandans should stand behind her, despite their background, despite their political beliefs. Your mother remains a symbol of democracy in Rwanda. Thank you so
Thank
much, Remy.
Thank you so much, Denise. It was an honor to be here on your podcast. I've been listening to former guests that you had, and they are all of such high quality. So I just really feel honored that I here, as son to my mother, can yeah, play part in it, because your channel really is educating people about the truth, what is happening in Rwanda. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Remy. The honor is all mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in today, and a heartfelt thank you again to our incredible guest, Remy Amahiwa, the son of Rwandan jailed opposition leader Victor Ingabire, for sharing his family's story and their courageous struggle for freedom and justice. As we say in Kinyarwanda, Imana ifasha uwifashije. God helps those who help themselves. Let that be a call to action for all of us. If you believe in democracy, human dignity, and rule of law, now is not the time to look away. Reject complicity through silence, raise your voice, speak truth to power, stand in solidarity with those who cannot speak freely. Let us all stand with Victor Ingabire and all other political prisoners in Rwanda. Until next time, take care, stay engaged, and thank you for listening.